I cannot tell you how many times I have talked to women who went to college, even had a minor degree or a major degree in art, ended up having a family, and have looked me in the eye and said, one day I'm going to get back to art. And I said, when will that be? And they say, well, when my kids grow up, I've only got one more in school and this and that and the other thing and blah, blah, blah. And they get all through this, and they're painting a picture that they're going to have fun and be creative when they're much, much older in life, when it's something that they have a little time to do right now. You don't have to paint a Rembrandt. You can just have fun with it. Sometimes I tell people the best way to do that is just start by doodling. And, you know, I think that's the direction you have to go.
Okay, excellent. Well, so I know in your book you have a chapter about overcoming obstacles. And I think with that also is the obstacle of fear and uncertainty. How did you approach fear and uncertainty in your life, and how do you encourage others to get past things that make them fearful and apprehensive?
Well, I think for me, you know, when I switched from my automotive career to my art career, this is the one thing I constantly told myself. Life can be short, so first of all, you better go and get it done if you want to do it. And so while that could have been a fear, it was also a stick moving me in the right direction, that what I was doing was not making me happy. That motivated me. And I would think that the second thing would be that I'm an exploratory person. I really wanted to try things, and again, I had not let my creative side be completely suppressed. I feel it was being suppressed by my job.
Sure.
So I think the fear part of it still also gets back to carefreeness and treating things like a child. Everyone needs to understand, if I'm talking to someone out there today and you have a career and you've been doing this career for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, and you consider yourself pretty good at it, you weren't born good at it. You might have been born with a desire or a love of something, or maybe even in some talent. I mean, somebody could say, well, you have a talent for art. And I go, okay, but I also had a desire.
Yeah.
So day by day, we learn these things. You know, we don't realize that when you learn how to write, it takes you day after day after day after day to finally become better and better at it. And when you do your job, we do it the same way. But what happens is that we think we wake up and we've known this all of our life. When you go to approach something new, and it could be a language or it could be something that has to do with art, I think that you have to just go in and say, you know, I'm going to stink at this, but who cares? It doesn't matter. And one day you stink a little bit less at it, and then one day you're actually good and you see some results, and you'll have some, you know, people give you compliments, and you'll understand the way that you're going is the way that you really should be going. Be proud of yourself. But if you go into a painting class and you've been really great at something all your life and you think that you're going to sit down and paint a masterpiece, I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to crash and burn. It will not work. You need to just go in and say, I'm going to have fun. And when I walk away from this, I want to have fun, because fun is something that will attract me into doing it a second day and a third day and a fourth day and a fifth day. And that's how you get good at something. So that's what I would say. You just have to kind of be a kid again.
Yeah. Excellent. Well, is that so? You know, you also touch in your book about you know, age and being ageless and embracing that and the journey where you're getting older, but still, you know, having this be a beautiful creative journey. How do you approach in your own life the idea of just, aging and still being creative and turning out, quality work year after year?
It's funny that you could see this at all different times of your life, because I've been doing this such a long time that if I was to have any fear, and I don't have a lot of fear, but if I was to have any fear, is that I won't get done everything that I want to get done.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's how life is. We don't know how much time we have. But I think it's important for your listeners, Yuri, to really understand that every year, I'm gonna change subject just for a second on the same topic.
Sure.
I turned to my 15-year-old grandnephew, and I asked him about when he remembers his first Christmas. He's 15 years old now, and he remembers being 2. Sometimes when I'm talking to young people and they're 30 years old and they're talking to me about life and where they're going, I said, well, you remember when you were 15? And they go, yeah. I go, that was half of your life ago. So now somebody who's 60, go back and remember being 30, and it helps you understand what you're going to be like if you hit 90. And I think as soon as you are able to bracket where you are in life, you'll start to find out that, there's that saying, when there's fewer days in front of you than there was behind you, you start looking at life in a different way.
Yeah.
As far as creativity goes, I will tell you, here I had a successful painting career. I've just delivered a commission last week to the Inn at Little Washington, which is, some people will know as in Virginia. It's been named the finest restaurant in the world more than once. Quite established place.
Mm-hmm.
I'm doing another commission for another customer. But if you were to say, what's drawing you more, Tom, today, I would say I'm writing more than I'm painting. And so I could get all kind of whacked out about that, but I'm letting my life take me in the direction that feels good.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that adults need to do. We're really raised to be like we're in a competition. Second grade gets you third grade gets you fourth grade, middle school gets you high school gets you out of school, you get a job, you want the better office, the title. We're going through those things. You need to step off that conveyor belt and just say, hey, this is who I am today, this is the age I am, and I'm great, and I'm going to have fun, and I'm going to have fun in a creative way.
Yeah. It's so being able to do that and recognize what truly kind of, makes you happy in certain areas and where your focus should be is something that it takes a lot of work. How did you develop that? Like, I want to say like your gut or the ability to kind of just trust yourself. How have you developed that over the years so that nowadays you can turn and twist and make decisions much more easily about what is more meaningful to you?
There's a definite answer to that the first 10 years that I worked in the automotive business, there was a lot of creativity in it as I was going along. In the end, not so much. Mm-hmm. But I was learning business. And in business, you have to learn to adapt to certain things. So honestly, Yuri, when I started to become an artist and I said, this is what I'm going to do, I had a great tool in that I understood business. What I had to do is just adapt to learning the business of art and learn how to paint. It's not that I didn't bring any tools to that first day, because I did, but I knew that I was going to have a lot harder time with the painting part of it than I was with the business part of it, because I understood the business part of it. Mm-hmm. And business is business.
Right.
I've talked to artists that say, I've got a commission to do and I'm really nervous about it, and I'm dragging my feet. So the first thing I would tell that person, and I have, because a lot of times when they're saying that to me, they want my opinion or advice. And I said, if you're nervous about it, turn the nervous energy into something you can use. And if you're really, really, really nervous about it, you shouldn't have taken the commission in the first place because you're not ready yet. You're trying to go into business too quickly because you're trying to learn the business part of it while you're trying to learn the art part of it. And you should learn the art part of it first. So when you're hired, you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
The second part of that is that I would say, when were you given this commission? And I will tell you, I've actually had artists say almost a year ago. And I would look at them and I would say, well, don't worry about it anymore because you don't have that commission. If you haven't delivered that commission yet, that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
You've already blown it. So if you have a a listener, and that listener has been painting for a while or sculpting for a while or whatever, and somebody is going to ask them to do a painting for them, it doesn't matter who it is, they have to think to themselves, as soon as you receive $1 for your artwork, that second you're in business. And you need to treat business like business. You need to follow through. You need to communicate, because you're doing this for the whole entire art field, right? You want to make it easy on everybody. If you do it correctly, it will feel good to you, and it'll feel good to your customer, and your customer will come back to you, and things will go off. So I think based on the question that you asked me, how did I feel comfortable about this? I learned to adapt in a business world, and I've adapted the business world to the creative art world, which, by the way, you and I both know is one of the major things that artists don't do. A lot of times people say artists aren't good at it. I think that they just lean towards the art side and they fear the other thing. So I would say, if you're taking an art class, if you take 10 art classes, try to take one business class, and you'll find yourself being a lot more comfortable.
Yeah. So I think that's a great point that you brought up, the actual business side of the arts, which you're right, is not very often taught, particularly in universities. So with your background and a lot of the business acumen that you learned, what are some, I'd say, top 2 things that you took from your previous background that you brought into your artwork that were helpful and made you successful running the business side of your art?
Well, when people ask me, how did I become a successful artist? Now, this is going to sound like I'm kidding around, but I'm being 100% truthful with you. I tell them, I said, the reason I became successful is because I hang around people that buy art, not people that make art. So I want you all to think about this for a minute, that if you have 5 friends, 6 friends, 7 friends, and all of them make art, you're gonna work within your art group, and you may collaborate, you may improve as you're doing whatever you're doing, but it's not going to sell paintings, because the most you all are going to do is trade artwork. At some point, if you're trying to sell artwork, you have to go out and approach that world, and that world is either going to be made of you standing at a show selling your artwork, you working with an art gallery and trusting them to do that task, or any derivative of those things. For me, don't think I've not sold art in art galleries, because I have, and I've sold them in shows and things. But the thing that always worked best for me was not necessarily the website, was not necessarily the gallery. It's that I made it my business to hang around people that could afford to purchase artwork. Now, I'm not a wallflower.
Hmm.
So